Hi everybody and welcome to Painting for Pleasure. I had a request, so I'm going to do this. It's a couple of glass jars with some flowers in it. And I think this might be a nice little way to do it. I've already pre-drawn it out. I just want to go over what I've drawn. I'm not sure you can really see it, but basically I've got this little drawing here, the little oval over here came down, made my neck of my jar over here, indented it a bit over here, and then started to bring this out down this way, and my oval circle down here because I'm seeing in it, seeing through it. Same way with this one here. Two things, little glass jar, come down here, made the neck, coming in here, and then coming out on either side. All right, and then what I've got is a series of flowers. We've got some pink flowers. I don't really know what they are, but we've got some pink flowers and we've got some white flowers and some greenish yellow flowers and whatever. But we'll just make an array of all of this stuff. And it should be pretty good. And I'm going to do it basically, I think I'm in a white background. I'm going to do a vignette on this. And I'm sort of painting this just off the top. And I just wanted to check this out because this is going to be fairly, you want this jar fairly accurate, coming out here and down here, and so we want to paint this so it looks pretty good. We're gonna do clear jars, so they're gonna be see-through, and we'll actually, what we'll do is since the flower's in the water, we'll fill it. We'll fill the water up to about those levels so that the stems are down there. We want to see some water in there. So, again, there's a couple of things that we can do. If we're going to do flowers in water, we want to do. Let's get maybe the first thing we do is get the glass jars done. First, we'll do a little bit of the glass jars, some of the buds in the flowers, and we can go from there. Okay, so we're going to use our traditional colors, I guess. Pretty much stay with what we've got. Let me get my 1-inch brush over here. We're going to start to fill this in. I'm going to wash it out. And we're going to start to come over here, and we're going to end up coming in here with some clear water. And I did I did a couple of jars a while ago, and I did it all wet into dry. But in this case, I'm going to wet my area first. And we're just going to come down here, and I'm going to come down with some water there, and we'll do the same thing over here. We're going to wet the area, and we're going to come down in that area. Okay, so we'll wet them first. So we have you can actually see a slight tone. There's a slight tinge to it. It's probably because my brush is a little bit on the dirty side, but we'll make it work. I'm going to come over here and start with my round brush, and we're going to make these jars clear. So what I want to do is I want to start with a little bit of cerulean blue, a lot of water, a little bit of cerulean blue over here, and we're going to just allow the cerulean blue just to come in and fill in these areas. Okay, and now we have, this is very watery, very loose, 2 jars. One there, one here. Let's just see where it goes. 2 jars, just filling in with just straight cerulean blue right now. All right, a little bit more pigment coming across over here. The light's going to be coming down from this side over here, so we're going to make both of these jars are going to be the same in terms of the shadow is going to be on the left-hand side. Okay. And the same way with this one here. All right. A little bit of cerulean blue, a little bit thicker than the first pass. And we're going to go into my oval. Okay. And we're going to come down on this side as well. Work my way down. Now, I want to add some warmth to this a little bit more. Right? You see there's a slight greenish sort of tint to it, but I'm going to come in here with a little bit of yellow ochre, only very wet, and add a little bit of light yellow ochre to this on this side. This is going to be this jar here is going to be a little bit on the greenish side, and this jar I'm going to make just so that we can have a difference. I'm going to make this a little bit on the redder side, so I'm going to come in here with a little bit of my opera mixed with my cerulean blue. Alright, so I'm looking for two different tonal values. I don't want them the same. Alright, so this guy's going to be a little bit on the reddish or purplish side. Okay. And this guy here is going to be a little bit more on my yellow or yellow brownish side. There we go. So one's going to be a little bit warmer, one's going to be a little bit cooler. All right. So we've got my jars, and I'm going to end up, ultimately we're going to be seeing through those. The jars are sitting down on the table. They're sitting on a structure. My structure is going to be a little bit of shadow, so I'm going to use cerulean blue, cobalt blue, with a mixture of my opera. And I'm going to bring my table of whatever, let's say I'm going to bring this out here. All right, so we have the structure that we're sitting on, and I'm going to actually come in here because we're going to end up probably doing a shadow. There'll be a shadow that's going to be cast on here, but I got some flowers that are going to be facing in this direction, and the same way with this here. So those glasses are going to be sitting down on the table, and we're going to end up with some leafy structure going on here and there. Okay. Now, there's my sort of general feeling of what's going on. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take a tissue, paper towel, soft paper towel, and again I'm going to put it under here so that because I'm going to end up spraying this a little bit to see if, so that I can get some of this feeding down nice and wet, and hopefully some of this will run. Now I don't have a big angle on this, so what I may have to do is come over here and give it a little bit of a push, lighten that up. Lighten that up a little bit. And what I'll more than likely do now with that is I need to create the feeling that it's glass. And the glass we're going to be seeing through it. So I'm going to come in here where that's wet, and I'm just going to get some, a little bit of tissue. And blot it out. Okay, blot it out. And the blotting is going to give me some lighter areas, and I don't know if you remember what we talked about a week or so ago, a couple of weeks ago, when I wet the tissue, and in the areas that I wanted to lighten up with, I'm going to wet the tissue and come in here and make it a little bit lighter. Now I don't want to press my fingers down into it so much, as I want to just create some areas that are going to be light that we're going to see through. And this little tissue over here is just to catch the water so that as it runs down. So just dabbing it here and there. Okay. Now when it dries, I'm going to actually physically go back in and lift out a little bit more. But as long as I have the feeling that light is coming from this side, and then this area will be coming in a little bit darker. Okay, so we talked about doing a number of things. We talked about scrumbling and scruffing and doing all kinds of just good stuff. What I wanted to do is to just get a small sponge, or a piece of small sponge. So this is much too big that I have here. Let's try maybe this. Okay, we'll take a little bit of sponge like this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to dip it in water. And in I've got some areas over here where I want to make it, I want the insides of the buds. But before I actually do that, I want to come in here and I'm going to actually come in and take some of these flowers are going to be red, so let's just come in here and let's see how we're going to do this. So maybe I'm going to make some red blossoms here, and maybe some, I don't know, maybe this will be red there. I'm going to make multiple colors. Try to balance this out. We're going to come in with some orange flowers. Spot here and there, spot. What I'm doing is as I'm doing this, I'm just sort of going through the process of trying to balance these colors so that some of them are going to be sort of nice and bright red, and some of them are going to be orange, and some of them are going to be sort of yellowish green, and we'll just play around with this in here. And let's take some cobalt blue and add some going to take some cobalt blue and I'm going to add some of my new gamboge to it. Here's my new gamboge. Where I'm going with this is my new gamboge and this is my cobalt blue over here, and I'm going to mix them up a bit. But before I do that, I want to actually come in here and create some sort of interesting petal kind of things. Now, I'm not, in this case, I'm not trying to actually come in here and do a leaf by leaf flower. I'm just doing a conglomerate of what I'm hoping to be, that will end up being a nice grouping of flowers. And I'm doing this sort of on dry. Some of them are going to have yellow. There it is. All right. A little darker here, and you're going to take some water now and just wash this out so that this, see, these become lighter. Right, so this is loosely done. It's all basically color and putting some colored tone down and then wetting the area. All right, a little bit of color down and then wetting the area. Some of this is going to be on the outside. Adding a little bit of blue makes some green. They're not just flowers, but you know, some of this has got some leafy structure to it. All right, we're just making this up as we go along. Probably should have some leafy structure coming out this way over there, maybe some down in here. You know what, let's go back. Well, let's be doing that, but let's just get some around here too as well. Okay, how about a little bit of color over there, and maybe some over here, maybe some real orange. Let me see this. Now we got to put a little bit inside here because we're seeing through some of that. You know, so, like for instance, let's assume that we do. Alright, some of that over there, maybe we actually have that to balance it out. Maybe we'll throw a little bit of red. A little bit of red in this. Okay, And maybe just a hint to balance some of that out there. If I take that red and I mix a little bit of my blue with it, so I took that red, which I use Pyro Red, mixing my cobalt blue with it. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just, I don't know, make one, I don't know what this stuff is, but you see it around a bit. Part of the bouquet of flowers that we're dealing with here. And what, let me just try something here. One of the ways to deal with some of this is to do, I'm going to spot some of this stuff, right? As an example, we're going to mix my cobalt blue, Pyro Red together, cobalt blue, nice purple stuff. Come in here, pick it up with my sponge. All right. Maybe a little bit of that in here. Some over there. A little bit over there. Okay. We're starting to build my flowers. If you take a look at some of these flowers, right in, I'm going to just be, with a sponge, I'm just going to dab inside. You know, in some of these areas, for instance, right there, you got these little sort of groupings of, I don't know what they're called, but where the bees go in and kind of sort of do their thing. I want to make some of this a little bit darker down here. One there. Okay. And so it gives you that floral, that sort of flowery, buddy kind of thing that happens. All right. And we're going to take a little bit smaller brush now. Still working with my flowers. I don't want quite a dark brush or a dry brush, but I do want to outline maybe a couple of a couple of these, but I need a little bit of water in here. Here you go. Create a little bit of water. Using a little bit of water on my brush, just dragging this out. All right. Create a little bit of something that's going on out here as well. Um, so we got some stems that are coming up, right, from these areas here. Okay, and we're going to just come in and we'll do a stem there. And some of this is going to be a little bit, some of these stems are going to be darker. A leaf. Soften that up a bit. And see, when I do that, that's not as effective as if I get a little piece of sponge and do something like that. All right? It gives you the impression of more of a blossom. Those flowers have blossoms to it. So we're trying always to create something that's interesting here. Now we need a little shadow in some of this area. All right, so we're dealing with a little bit of water. A little bit of water. Can you see it? Can you start to see it come alive? Let's do one of these units that are going to go out here as well. I don't know what they're called, but we're going to do it. A little bit of alizarin crimson. Okie doke. I want this to be, I want it a little bit flowier. Flowier, is that the right word? I want it to be a little bit more interesting in terms of, get some little green leaves in here. Maybe that'll help it out a little bit more. Okay. Now, we have a bunch of other flowers in here too, so we're just going to end up with water. I'm going to fill in some of these white areas with just water, and let the softness of the water work its magic, so that it looks like some of these are lighter and darker. You see, like all in this area here. Just take a little bit of okay. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a lavender here. A little bit of cerulean blue and lavender. And maybe we'll just do some blue flowers down here too. All right. We want some white. Don't want to lose everything. We want some of it to just be dispersed. And I want some of this stuff to work its magic, so that I've got some brighter colors in there. And what happened to my reds? My reds have sort of just quieted out, didn't they? Throw some really, maybe a little too stronger reds in here. See if we can hold some of this, the strength of those reds. This is kind of fun to do. Got some white flower over here. And maybe now let's now go that I've done this. I've got something that I'm working with up in this area. Got a bunch of flowers. I'll get some real brights. Let that dry, get some real bright stuff going. But I want to create now. I want to create a little bit more of an interest in my, well, first of all, I want to create a little bit more interest in my stems. So what I'm going to do is come over here, and I've got a series of dark stems that are coming down. And what happens now is that those stems, we can actually see them through the glass. Can actually probably see these right through the glass. And we make this a little bit darker. Down here we can actually, again, see those through the glass, through the jar. All right, we'll just make a bunch of these. All right, so we have some stems that are coming down in there. And I'm going to chase those reds, it looks like to me. So, where are we at? Right here. If the sun is light is coming down this way, but this is sort of all going to be, I mean, if that's the case, what's going to end up happening is a lot of the underside of this is going to actually end up being in shadow. See, all this stuff in here is going to end up being in shadow. And if I want my white, I want that as a white flower, then I'm going to have to soften this up over here a bit. Okay, and then we're going to cast a shadow. On the neck of my jar. Because this is casting a shadow on this. That's what's happening. Just take our time and do it a little bit at a time, that's all. Now I'm using cerulean blue for some of this on here. I'm using cobalt blue right here, right now, for this. Okay. Let me get some cerulean blue in here. Oh, we'll get some cerulean blue. We're mixing actually the two colors together. And I'm going to come in here and we're going to make this dark. Top of my jar. Let's see if we can do this. Neck of my jar, and I'm going to bring this, actually going to bring this out more. Okay. And we have, if we're seeing through this, we've got this oval on the inside back down here in the bottom. And we have we do have a strong shadow down here, so we're going to make that stronger. Okay. And we got some real strong shadow again. Let's do this. Okay. And we're going to come over this side a little bit where the light is. Just change up that color a bit. Oh, I just need to get a little bit of a line in here. Right. And again, this is going to be real dark. And I'm going to sort of that's dark because it's sitting on the table, and that's also going to mean that we're going to have some darker areas in here as well, because it is sitting. Alright, so we got two glass jars, sort of sitting down on the table, and we want to, again, it's just creating that illusion that it's a glass jar. Darken this up. And soften it over. I don't know, it's just a way of doing glass, I guess. You know. We want to darken it up. Now, this two different jars. Okay. So we're going to end up letting this dry a little bit, then I'm going to put some highlights in. But in the meantime, this stuff is all dried. We're going to start to do a little bit more, get these reds a little bit popping a little bit more. Alright. Nice and strong. Okay, let's get myself a little bit of a do the same thing with some of these down here. Alright, we'll put some stems in. And I'll take my small rigger and start to do a little bit more work over here. while that dries, because I'm going to end up taking some on this, on the light glass. You'll see what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe some of this out. So just pop that out there. Make this more like a blossom. What I'm doing is, because this is light white, I don't want that white, I want the flowers to be. Because I'm leaving the white, the background is going to be left white. So we don't want that. So what we want to do is just make sure that we got I'm just going to start to draw in a couple of my leaves. All right. We need some green over here, don't we? Let's just bring this out. Spring bouquet. We'll call this spring bouquet. How's that? All right. Same way with over here, we're just going to end up just little fun things to help this along a little bit, little sprigs that come up out of these. Let me do this. Let me get some nice dark over here. Let's continue this one up, this one up. Okay, so I think we can go back now. I think we can go back now and see if I can model this glass a little bit more. The glass bottles a bit more. All right, little highlight. See this? Highlight. Okay, highlight. Now, we're looking through the bottle. So we need to get a reflection on the front side of this. We need to get a reflection on the front side of this. So that we get the feeling that we're looking through that bottle, that glass jar. Okay, see what I mean? That'll give us the feeling, the general feeling that we're looking through it. All right. Okay. Get a little bit of light on this guy. And we'll get a little bit of light on this guy here. Now, okay, so now it's time to enhance the flowers a bit. And I'm going to basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pencil to do it. I want to come in and define some of these a little bit more with regard to a little bit more definition in some of the leaf areas and so forth. For instance, if I'm going to, well, let me do it another way. I was going to use a pencil. I can and do my value studies, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably enhance it with my brush. Now, you take a look at take a flower like this, for instance, right here. There's a good chance that what I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to take out or remove, let's say, a little bit of light structure, a little bit of highlight. And so what I'm going to do is dab this. Okay. What I'm trying to do is just to create a little bit of sort of little highlights here and there. Now what I would, if this was wet, I could have just spritzed it. Okay. So that's one of the ways to do it. Another way to do it is just to take a little bit of my yellow. Okay, my new gamboge. And we're going to thin line this. All right. A little bit of dark under here. Shadow under here. A little bit of shadow under there. Okay. And to make this stand out over here, we have a little bit of red. Let's go back over here. We got a little bit of this beautiful red over here, but so we want to create a wash, a little bit of leaf. So we're just putting a little bit of a line down there. Yeah, nice red. Okay. A little red, but I don't want a hard line. So with that, I'm going to come in here and just allow this to sort of wick out a little bit by wetting this a bit. So what it becomes is, it gives me the outline of the flower. Okay, that's a good thing. Gives me the outline of the flower. It's the sort of the dark area. And it gives me the shadow that I need. To help to pop this flower out. Now, so you have here. So we've got a little bit of a flower here, a petal there, and there's a petal here. And we got a sort of a petal over here too, by the way. All I want to do is I want to pop out some of these, not too many. So a little bit of shadow to make these leaves stand out a little bit. Now, I could have left this alone. I can leave this alone, actually. There's no reason why I can't leave it the right way it is, because it's sort of, it has the feeling of flowers, so I'm not worried too much about that. But I just wanted to actually come back in here a little bit and show you guys that you can make this a little bit better. Better's not the right word. Tighten it up a bit, if you want to tighten it up a bit. I like this. I actually like this, and I don't want to do too much with this here. I love the way that came out. Okay. And we're going to just add a little bit of alizarin crimson. Yeah. Make this almost a heavy dark purple. Right, a couple of darks are going to help this. A couple of darks will help this out. Right, so we did this, and we're just going to spread this out a little bit. Right, so it helps to pop this area. See this right in here? Helps to pop that out. I mean, what we're doing is we're doing petals. Here, look, as an example, let's spread this one here. Little petal there. We get. Let's do this. Where's that beautiful color here? Let's get some of this over here. All right, and a little bit of dark. All right. Okay. What I'm talking about is just now here. We're going to take a thin line, a little bit of clear water, start over here and work into that. So it wicks toward you, and then, all right. A little bit of dark. All right. This is, we're not doing too much in the way of dark, just a little bit. And I want to do this, but I want it lighter as it comes down. So we're going to end up down here, for instance. All right. There's a lot of ways to do this. And I'm going to make this yellow a little bit more intense. Around that flower there. Alright, something that's a little bit darker in there to enhance that a bit. And I don't want to get this thing to the point where I'm enhancing all of the leaves, just a few of them. I think that works. Let's just, we'll know in the morning, because that's how I have to look at this stuff. We will know in the morning. Nice dark area right there. And this sucker here. Let's just get this so that it looks like it's supposed to. Okay. And we're dark down here. Oh, sorry about that. This is coming down around. And this is nice and dark down here. Okay, a couple of streaks. And let's do the same thing over here with a little bit of water. We have a little bit of water in here too, don't we? Excuse me. The big question is, does it look like a glass jar, and are we seeing through it? And I think we are. And if this is our table area back here, that's the edge of our table, and we're going to end up having some of that edging, soften up some of that edging back here so that That comes down. You get the idea. Okay, so we've got our table, some flowers, shadow. I think we're okay. I think we got enough going for us, so we should be all right. The more I do these, the better I get. It's like anything else. We all have a little bit of something going here, and we're doing our best to make it happen. This is a little bit of this is my white marker, Uniball. Highlight. What I'm doing is I'm just coming in here and highlighting a little bit of the rim. A little bit of highlight. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of white to this. Just to bring that out a little bit. Now, if my table my highlight might be right there. Right, and we may do the same thing with the water line here. Just to pop it out a bit. All right. All right. I think we've done it. The only thing I have to do here is come down here with my brush. Okay, so the only other thing I'm going to do is I got to make some of this a little bit darker. The shadow under here. Just to get something on the table. Let me try something here. Okay, I'm going to try it over here too, because that would cast the shadow there as well. So I'd probably end up having a shadow like that. All right, now we can just continue to just let it dry and we'll see what it... Yeah, that looks much better. I think that looks much better. Dark. Dark. Okay. All right. Let's let it, oops, sorry about that, guys. Let's let it just dry. I'm going to cut this up, crop it out or whatever. I think that's my final. We'll check in the morning. Okay, I just enhanced it a bit. Just did a little bit of work in here and changed up some of these colors a bit more to get a little bit more glaze or glass look in terms of doing it in these jars. And the only other thing I want to do, this last thing I want to do, is I just want to give myself a nice clean edge over here. So what I'm going to do is, rather than do it with paint, I'm going to do it with a watercolor pencil. Just run a thin line back here. Just to give me, let's see if I can find one of my blues here. Just in keeping with everything. Just to show that we have an edge here. So there's something like this that's just straight, that just gives me my edge. Okay, and I'll take a little bit of water. I just want a straight edge. Okay, that's all. I think we got, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good, and I think we'll call it a day. Call it a painting. Let me just sign it. Okay. Okay, that's, we'll call that our painting. Thank you again for being with me. I'm your host, Tony Visco, and always remember, when you pick up a brush, always be painting for pleasure.